Okay.
Welcome. I'd like to call this Finance Committee meeting to order. The first item we have is assignment for request for council action. For the Finance Committee, we have 2111, budget amendments, 2112, transfer request for the MCRC, 2113, expenditure for Dell computers, monitors, licenses, M&J Tech, 2114, expenditure of $15,000 for our police department, 2115, expenditure of $15,000 striker medical for the fire department, 2116, economic development transfer
No, I won't.
form for lost,
No, I won't.
what is that? Santiago? I'm saying that wrong. LLC. 2117, 2021 material bid service department, 2118, expenditure for Goodyear Tire Sanitation Department, 2119, expenditure for Civil Service Code Street Department, 2120, amend ordinance 14220, City Hall parking deck final payment, 2121, for the East Reagan Parkway Multi-Purpose Trail Project 1066, 2122, East Liberty Storm Sewer Installation Project number 1071B, 2123, amend ordinance 8619, fiscal year 19 CDBG allocation grant, 21024, national bid expenditure, rural manufacturing police department locker room project. Next item we have is 21. Is your mic on? No. There it is. How about now? Is that better?
That's the ticket.
All right. Sorry about that. Technology challenged here, but we got it working. 2111 budget amendments. So let's see. The first one, Keith, I guess this is you.
Yeah, I can talk about it. Thank you,
Oh,
Mr.
Chief?
President. Whoever. This is just moving the money for the police vehicle that you guys approved from salaries down into vehicle equipment.
Okay. Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. The next item we have is, I guess, the vehicles. We have Fire Department 21003. Who is this, Mayor?
Yes, sir. So this is to appropriate $20,935.20 from the salary and wages line. It's a transfer to tools and minor equipment for the purpose of purchasing 8 new AEDs for the fire equipment.
Thank you. Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. 21012, fund transfer for the MCRC capital contribution. Keith?
Thank you, Mr. President. The joint operating agreement for the rec center requires an annual $100,000 contribution to the capital fund, and this is to authorize that transfer.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2113, expenditure for M&J Technologies, computers, monitors, and licenses. Sergeant Jaremba?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is our annual renewal on breaking out our PC count here at the city. We're normally about 107 computers, 295 users, and we've been on a 4-year to 5-year cycle on replacing 25 a year. So that's our annual 25. It also includes the upgrade to the latest Microsoft Office package, which is 2019. As we cycle through, we keep staying to the latest and greatest there. And lastly, what we've added in here for $7,500 that we haven't done in the 15 to 18 years that I've been managing the IT stuff is we haven't replaced monitors. We've done them piecemeal here and there, and what we're finding with the new Dell chassis is they come out with a display port instead of VGA, and we're having to buy converters and adapters, and it's creating some problems keeping monitors connected. And they're just flat out old. They're old style technology. They're square, not rectangular, and they're getting grainy. So we figured we would start to put a cycle in for those monitors since it's been 15 plus years.
Mr. President,
Mayor?
the emergency clause is requested because the price that they got for these is only good for 30 days, so we need to get this through.
My only question would be, I mean, we're trying to do this citywide. I know we got 25 here. Was there everybody? So are we set? I mean, did we talk to the court? Do they need
We-
anything over there so we get?
Well, we do
involved?
it on a 4-year rotation here.
Yeah, so the court, good question, Mr. President. The court is on their own budget, so they do their own computers, as well as we help facilitate the rec center and the water because of how they're funded. So this does not include those two entities. We usually allow the rec center to come to us and say they've got 16 computers and let us know, and then we help facilitate the specs for them.
Right.
And then they fund it. So, yeah, this only covers city hall, police, fire, service garage, those entities here at the city that aren't funded in the way that,
No, I understand. I guess my only question was on the purchasing part of it, the bulk purchasing discount, so to speak, if there is one.
so these are state bid.
Oh.
So it really, volume per unit,
Okay.
we won't have any savings.
Okay. Any other questions?
Mr. President,
Mr. Rose?
and Darren, with the Microsoft licenses, are those physical, is the software for Microsoft Office physical to the device, or is it out in the cloud someplace?
No, sir, it's not Office 365, so it's not cloud-based, and it's also not tied to the machine. We do open volume licensing. So what that means is we can install it on this computer, and if that computer goes to bed or we replace it, we just move that license to the next machine.
Okay.
Versus standard licensing, which you alluded to, where it's tied to the machine. When the machine goes to bed, so does that license.
Okay, all right, great, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21014, expenditure of $15,000 for Dockstar for Police Department. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll attest to this for him since I headed the project up. Long story short is there's a documenting imaging server here that the city has. The police department is the predominantly only one using it. It was put in over 10 years ago. About 5 years ago, I virtualized the hardware to save the expense because it was due for a hardware replacement. So we virtualized the server, and the software that runs on it is called Dockstar. It's antiquated, it's outdated, it's end of life because we've done nothing to upgrade it for 10 years. We've just used it. We've supported it, but it's to the point now where it's moved from a client-based system to a web-based system, or a browser-based system, I should say. So it's an in-house server here. We're basically upgrading the existing software to the latest and the greatest, and we'll move away from the clients on the desktops and go back to the browser.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21015, expenditure of $15,000 for Stryker Medical for the Fire Department. Mayor Hamwell?
Thank you, Mr. President. So this was the money that we transferred a couple items ago, and it's to approve the expenditure of $20,935.20 for the 8 AEDs.
Questions?
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2116, Economic Development, Trex Transfer for Los Cantaritos, I think it's Cantaritos LLC. Kimberly?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This tonight is just going to be a discussion item, but I've been working with Attorney Mark Myers, who's representing the owners of Los Cantaritos LLC located at the 930 West Liberty location. They would like to transfer a D5 and D6 class liquor permit to the city of Medina. Their attorney is still trying to locate one that can be transferred in, and the request would be to authorize, for council to authorize the mayor to sign the form once they identify an actual permit. The Los Cantaritos LLC is a Mexican restaurant, so I think they want to have like margaritas and stuff like that. So there are 3 owners of the Mexican restaurant. They are already open for business and have been doing pretty well down there. It's the location that used to be JT's Barbecue, so it's a little bit off the beaten path. They're not in the community revitalization district. So the last time I talked to their attorney, he is still trying to find a license and negotiate that, but he just wanted to make sure that council would be comfortable with transferring it in once one is identified. So typically, we do not request the emergency clause, but we're thinking that hopefully in the next 2 weeks, he'll have one identified, and perhaps we can entertain that at that time.
Thank you. Any questions? I guess my only question, we talked about this a little bit.
Yeah,
When we pass or approve an assignment of a liquor permit, usually we have the information of liquor permits identified. In this case, we do not have an identified liquor permit, so we really can't approve anything until something's identified. So that's kind of what the delay is here. But I think the applicant wanted to make sure that we were okay with it.
that's correct.
And I don't think anybody has an objection to it that I'm hearing. So once we get the proper information, we'd be able to approve it to authorize the mayor to sign the assignment. Is that correct? Everybody okay with that?
Good with that?
And I did explain to him that we have done 3 of these in the past without any issues, so I think,
Okay.
okay?
All right, well,
Thank
thank you.
you.
We'll wait to get the identification of those permits.
Yes, thank you.
Number 8, we got 2117, 2021 material bids for the service department. Mr. Pacoli.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is our annual material bids. We're asking council for the authority to advertise and bid for the furnishing of materials for 1 year through the 2021 season, and it's to include maintenance of our streets, water lines, city properties, also including the treatment of drinking water at times, and then water meters specifically.
Any questions?
Move to approve?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. 2118, expenditure for Goodyear Tire Sanitation Department. Mr. Pacoli.
Thank you, Mr. President. This request addresses supplies from the Goodyear Entire Rubber Company. Goodyear has provided excellent service over the years to the city of Medina, and we use Tier 1 truck tires. We talk annually about the steering tires. They're expensive. We run about six months. They're $1,200. And then the tandem tires in the rears, they last probably 6 to 7 months as well.
Any questions?
Move to approve?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2119, expenditure for Signal Service Co. for the Street Department. Mr. Pacoli.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a vendor that we use for our signalization, our city traffic system, for emergency repairs, our traffic poles that periodically, unfortunately, are hit by trucks, our master cabinets, and for work that the city employees cannot do.
Any questions?
Move to approve?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2120, amend ordinance 14220, final payment to the City Hall parking deck. Mr. Patton.
Thank you, Mr. President. As council, I think, knows, we've been negotiating for the past couple of months, really, with our contractor, CPS, regarding the final payment amount for the parking deck. We've come back with a proposal to increase the original contract amount by $30,000 to $3,744,000 as the final payment. I would note the original project budget was $3.8 million, so we're still below the original budget. It's $30,000 more than the initial contract amount.
And it's my understanding that discussions have been ongoing, and this is the final resolution to all the outstanding items that we have with respect to the completion and final payment of the parking deck. And also, just to remind the public that we received a $1 million grant from the state of Ohio, and the remaining portion of $2,744,000 will be paid back through the implementation of the TIF district that we formed. That'll be paid back over a period of up to 30 years to pay that back. It could happen sooner, depending on if we get more development that occurs around the area, which falls within the TIF district. So we do have one project in there already, and we have another project slated to begin this fall. So I think we're well on our way to get reimbursed the monies for the parking deck that we constructed. So I appreciate all the help on that. Does anybody have any other questions?
Move to approve?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2121, bids for the East Reagan Parkway Multipurpose Trail Project 1066. I guess this might be Mr. Patton again, or is it Jansen?
I'll start, and then maybe Jansen could add some more comments to it. This is a project to install a multi-purpose trail on East Reagan. from Court Street all the way down to Larkins Way. It'll tie in at both ends with existing trails or paths. The one on Court Street that was installed by the ODOT North Corridor project a couple of years ago, and the one on Reagan that was installed many years ago when we did East Reagan, I think in '95 or so. Jansen, maybe you can touch on the grant and anything else?
Yeah, so the grant that we're utilizing for this is the Clean Ohio Trails Fund through the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. We were awarded the grant. Basically, this is going to be the longest connecting multi-purpose trail, connecting Medina Township, Montville Township, Lake Medina through Medina County Park District, and then a potential future project for the Lake Medina Greenway with Medina County Park. So this is a pretty important connection, and recommending that we use carry forward from the Parks Department to offset our 20% match required for the grant.
Thank you, and it provides, I see in here, something that we've been talking about for many years, is the illumination of certain areas on Reagan Parkway, and I think there's going to be hookups for that. Is that correct?
Yeah, this project will install the conduit, basically the underground necessary for a future project, which we also have a grant for, which will install lighting.
Yeah, I think we've heard that a lot through our meetings that we've had in the ward, so this is a good thing.
Yep, yes, I agree.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2122 easements for East Liberty Storm Sewer Installation Project 1071B. Patrick?
Thank you. This was a kind of a smaller but important drainage issue that we completed. In order to do that, we needed to get easements from 3 property owners. Total cost for all 3 combined is $280.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2123, amend ordinance 8619, fiscal year 19 CDBG allocation grant. Who's handling this? Mayor? Oh, Jonathan? Oh,
Yeah,
Jonathan?
I can take it. Thank you, Mr. President. Ordinance 8619, council granted administration to submit for the CDBG allocation grant through the state of Ohio. We do this every 2 years on a cycle. Part of that allocation grant application was specific functions and projects. One of them was Parks Project, which is in improvements to Ray Miller Park, and another one was planning. There was $20,000 for a planning project, which was the designation was the comprehensive plan. Due to the nature of the grant, in order to use that $20,000 for the planning process, we would have to have the comprehensive plan finished by August 31st of this year, 2021. That's not possible since we're at the beginning of starting the comprehensive plan process. But in order to keep that money here in the city of Medina, we can transfer that money through an amendment to the grant from planning activity to the parks activity to help offset the costs that the Parks Department has to incur as part of the match for the work in Ray Miller Park. So that's basically what this amendment is to just change up the distribution of the dollars that are in the grant, but still keep the $20,000 here so that we don't lose that $20,000 by not being able to do the comprehensive plan activity within the time frame of this grant. The emergency clause is requested just to give enough time for it to be active so that the money can be allocated to the Parks project, which has to be completed by August 31st of this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Mr. Coyne?
Mayor?
So I'll also just add briefly that, so the next grant application will be coming up later this year. So there is a chance to then reapply to have that $20,000, which would take us through 2021, the end of 2021 and into 2022, which is more in line with the planning and the time it's going to take us for the comprehensive plan. So it's not like we're not going to do it at all. It's just we're going to defer it until the next grant cycle.
Understood. Any other questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including the emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2124 expenditure for Debrow Manufacturing for Police Department Locker Room Project. Chief Kenny?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the lockers for our locker room remodel project. The existing lockers we have in both the women's and the men's locker room are very old. They've been here, I don't know if they came with the building in 1973. They may have, but they've been here at least for the 24 years I've been here. They're rusted and they need replaced, and it is the part of the overall locker room remodel. I'd like to thank Pat and Nino for helping us out tremendously for that. And this is on a national bid through Sourcewell for these lockers. Thank you.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We have two discussion items. The first discussion item is just a follow-up with the municipal court ballot issue. If you recall, over our break last year, at the end of 2020, we had a special council meeting to make a determination if we wanted to go on the ballot or not, because it had to be done by February 3rd. We wanted to make sure there was enough time for people to review the ordinance that we passed. That's why we didn't do it by emergency, and that's why we didn't do it in 2021. So with that being said, there's been some discussion that the mayor has had both with the commissioners, with the county administrator, and with the architects, because we had some open questions to make sure that we were able to do the type of project that we wanted to do as a city in the old 1969 courthouse facility. And Mayor, I think if you wanted to update us on your discussions you had with the county administrator, and the architect to make sure that a project of the type that we wanted to complete is feasible in a 1969 building.
Yes, sir, thank you. So for clarification, I did not meet with the commissioners as a group. I met with Scott Miller, and I also interacted with Commissioner Bill Hudson,
Okay.
but not the commissioners as a board, first of all. And when I met with Judge Warner individually and asked if he would be willing to consider moving, if the 1969 building could be renovated on the square, moving the municipal court operations over there, there were three qualifications that he said would need to be met for him to agree to it. One was that the security checkpoint could be shared with both the common pleas functions and the municipal court function. The second was that the Sally port could be used for the municipal court in custody prisoners, so that they weren't having to be unloaded and offloaded and taken back outside without being in a secure Sally port area. And then the third was that the building could be configured or reconfigured, as it would be, to have separation of in-custody prisoners, public, and court staff, separate hallways, separate movements, separate elevators. So we challenged that to Brandstetter and Carroll. They did some preliminary work with it. Nancy from Brandstetter then came down and met with the judge and I individually to go over a few of the things. Initially, it was, I shouldn't say easy, but initially she accomplished the in-custody prisoner movement over to the 69 building and the shared security checkpoint. There was still some problems with shared hallways. The judge and I offered some recommendations to her. She made she took those recommendations, went back, and then we met again, and she was able to accomplish that third goal as well. So then the last thing the judge wanted to do was to meet with his individual department leaders over there, like the head of probation, the head bailiff, the clerk of courts, because any of the previous meetings were just the judge and I, and they had the opportunity to do that on this past Friday And his leadership team over there feels that the modifications that Branstetter and Carroll presented to us are, in fact, workable to move the municipal court over there.
Now, some of the concern that we've been hearing is that the size of the 1969 building, it would be inadequate for our municipal court. Could you explain a little bit?
Yes,
on
sir.
the facts on that?
So originally, when we were looking at building new there with them, we were looking in the area of 26 to 27,000 square feet, roughly. And this renovation and use of the 1969 building would result in the municipal court having about 23,000 square feet. But the difference is that the sally ports are not in our building, and we were sharing that. The other thing was the security checkpoint is not in our building, and we were sharing that. So a portion of each of those areas, if you added that to the 23,000, would take us back to about where we were with the brand-new building.
Thank you. And I think some of the concerns that we had to want to make sure before we, put this on the ballot for February 3rd and not change our mind to take it off the ballot, was to make sure that we can have a municipal court facility located in that building. Now, the reason that we would like to do that, of course, because it saves taxpayers money. And when I say that, we've determined, of course, that the new facility, we had a facility in the new portion that would be about $8 million of city participation of funds from the city of Medina and the combination of the municipal court special project funds, which have been saved up for many years to be used on such a project. And with that being said, this new project that we're going to do would still be using the special project funds to do the renovation, which hopefully would be more cost-effective than building new, because at least in the renovations of the 1841 courthouse on the square, the cost of renovation was less than the cost of new construction, which was promising for us. And there's been some discussion, well, why don't we just build it on our own over here? I believe the public is aware that we've been looking at this for over 20 years, and we've looked at several different options, two of which included looking at building a courthouse on the facility of expansion across the street or a new building across the street. And the cost of construction at that time, a few years ago, was more than we were paying for the new construction at the county area that we were looking at the combined court facility. So it's more cost-effective to do this, and we're trying to look at the most cost-effective way for the citizens of the city of Medina, and also to still be able to share in some of the efficiencies, which is the sally port, which is the entrance and the secured entrance by the for the court facility, and sharing the officer as far as the entrance is concerned. So we are still doing something that's beneficial for the community, and we are doing what the community asked us to do. If you recall, back in November, the ballot language said that the city of Medina, shall not demolish, construct, or do anything on the east side of the square unless and until they went back to the voters and got permission from the voters. So this is kind of, we got a plan again ahead, because we missed the opportunity to build in the new facility because the county is moving forward and it's too far gone for us to get involved in that. But this is still an opportunity for us to take advantage of, and we are doing exactly what the residents asked us to do, which is to go back to them, show them our plan, and ask their permission to go ahead with the project on the east side of the square. So I don't know if anybody else has anything to add to that. Bill?
You explained the efficiencies that I think one of the concerns we had was that we wouldn't want to lose the efficiencies that we talked about, which was one of the drivers for doing the program in the first place. And we still retain those efficiencies, as you said. But the other benefit that we have that we haven't discussed since last year, I guess, is that beyond the sally port and beyond the security, it also moves all the court personnel right on the square, and the folks that come to visit to use the court, it puts those folks right on the square, which is a great benefit to the economy of the city, because that's where our retail shops are, where our restaurants are, where that people would certainly use if they were working at the court, or if they were using the court And the other thing it does is it frees up the building that we have, which is the current Muni Court, and that building could be used to the benefit of, the benefit of the city to bring another, possibly some outside function of something that's not in the city, but maybe in the townships, bring it into the city. That would also contribute to our economy. And then finally, it simplifies everything for folks that either work at the court or have to go to the court, because they will be in the same spot, where the county court, the Muni Court would be all together. And it just makes it so much simpler for people to find the location and to use the facility. So I think when you look at it in its totality, it really serves the purposes that we originally were trying to meet, as well as finally includes that courthouse building has been saved, which we felt was really important for the preservation of that building on the square.
And you bring up an important point. I just want to further clarify. Upon the move, you would have an empty building across the street, which is the current municipal court. Again, discussions have been with I think Mr. Hudson on the use of that building for another county function, as you talked about. I don't think it's going to be developed in some private development. It was just going to be used for relocating a county function that the county was paying money for at a different location, and they would come into the city, and they would be located in that facility, and the deal would be kind of trying to work out an arrangement between the use of that facility and our use of their 1969 building. So it's kind of a bigger project to try to figure out how that would be beneficial to both the county and the city. Mr. Simpson?
Yeah. And I agree with what you, John, and Bill said, all the advantages of moving this facility. And I just have to go back. I mean, we haven't received a lot, but we have received some letters of concern addressed to the administration and to the council. And I just want to emphasize what you said, John. We've been working on this for about 20 years, and all of us up here and the administration. I just want to emphasize that we are stewards of the city's finances. And we wouldn't take this on lightly if it would not be for the benefits of moving that facility over there. And to get the majority of the judges, the majority of, or all of the county commissioners to agree to the concept of us moving into the 1969 building. And what you specifically said about the Save the Courthouse Committee's ballot language that said we were not permitted to be involved with the county for the next 5 years unless we go to the voters. So we're not trying to, slide this under the rug and do some shenanigans. If we do put this on the ballot for this May, we're accomplishing that. We are going back to the voters with a specific plan to save the residents of the city of Medina tax dollars, because it should, and we can't promise this now, but it should even be less than what we would have been spending, which is money that's already been saved up between the courts and the city. It's no new tax dollars. And if for some reason the voters come back and say that they're not interested in us doing that, we still have to address it, and then we will probably be spending more than $8 million at someplace else, whether it's across the street or some other location. It just makes so much sense, and I know there's some people that's upset that we're considering this, but that's what you elected us to do, is to look for the best ways to save money. We have to address the court issues. I know I've heard in one or two of the letters that we're making stuff up about needing more space over there. Well, that's not true. I mean, in my tenure and in most of our tenures here on council, the two municipal judges has specifically said that is inadequate over there for a number of reasons, and we agree. We've all taken tours over there. We understand. So I think it's a good idea. I hope the residents will understand that we are working, you are our employers, and you've employed us to find the best solution for this problem that's been an ongoing problem for almost 20 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Mr. President?
Mr. Shields?
No, I just want to kind of tag on to what Denny was saying there, and you and Bill, that I think the most amazing thing in our 20 years of dealing with this is we've had 2 different judges, we've had 2 different mayors, we've had various combinations of council members. This is truly, after 20 years, the time where all of us agree on this. And John, you and I both can attest to, there was many years where we didn't agree with the size of it, we weren't going to spend the money to make it bigger. We've been very conservative about spending city tax dollars on this project, but that's a pretty amazing thing when you have the judge, the mayor, administration, 7 council members who are diverse, the county agreeing that we can use that building. It's like, it really is, the stars are aligned here, and I feel like we've done our homework and it's time to move forward, and that all of us have cooperated so well to come up with a solution that's good for the residents.
And the major point of all of that is that we're not borrowing any money to do it. We saved up internally, we saved up through the court special project that the judges saved up through, and we're using monies that were generated internally rather than asking the residents for any new money to do this project. So, I mean, that's a big thing, that we're being very fiscally responsible in that regard, and we've planned for this a long way. Mr. Rose?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't think I can add anything more to what's already been said. I agree wholeheartedly with everything that's been said, but just want to reiterate that all too often the public complains that governments don't work together. Here you are, you have 2 governmental entities working together to come to a common cause, to come to saving tax dollars all the way around in some way, shape, or form. And we're given what most people want to see from their government: working together, saving tax dollars, and using money wisely. To me, it's a win-win situation.
Thank you. Eric or Jess, do you have anything to add?
Yes,
Eric?
Mr. President. We keep saying it, we just got to go through it again. There's so many things that are good here. You know, the politicians all working together on all sides. The money saved, the historical preservation of this building that originally the county wanted to tear down. We want to be able to use it so that it is filled with people every single day, so it is not even considered on the thought of we should tear this down again. We're going to keep the square the way it is. But I also want to highlight there is a small group of people out there that are using political means to try to highlight themselves and their causes. In the past here, we've seen them try to get a county commissioner seat because of it. They're using this as a power move, and their objectives for this continuously change, and our objectives for why we decided this is the best for our city and our county have stayed the same. We want to save the money. We want to save these buildings. We want to work together. All of these things are great for our community, and I don't think we should, just walk away from that fact and say like, oh, listen to their problems. They have really political means to this, and they're trying to come after us in the county in different ways, and I think that's something we should highlight.
Thank you. Mrs. Hazeltine, do you have anything to add?
Well, of course, now I'm the only one that hasn't spoken, so I have to say something. I would just absolutely agree with what Councilman Heffinger said. This has become a politically motivated issue, which it is, should not be. It is not one small group. We cannot bow down to one small group that is using this as an issue to further their own agenda. When we speak for the people, we were elected to do the best things for our city and our residents. And I strongly believe, and I know that everyone else on council, all the commissioners I've spoken to, the administration, we all believe that this is the best thing. This is the best thing at this time for our city and our county. And I couldn't, echo Councilman Rose's, we always joke. It's funny when Jess and Paul agree on something, but it's really not. It's a sign of how well things are going, that we are all on the same page because it's that good. We're doing such a great job, and I would hate to see anything hinder this.
Thank you. So hearing everybody give their opinions and thoughts, and based upon the factual information that the mayor provided us, and the judge being involved with the architect also, that it's a doable project. That's a project that at least Mr. Hudson thinks that it'll be something that'll be beneficial to the county, and hopefully the other commissioners will also believe that it'll be beneficial. I think we just move ahead and put the issue on the ballot and move forward with that. There is other issues that are going to be on the ballot in May, so the one good thing about this is not going to be as expensive as Mr. Rose indicated originally, because there are going to be other issues on the ballot. which will lower our cost as a city. So that's another benefit to us. And hopefully that, the residents will believe in what we're doing and see, and it's up to them to make the determination if we move forward with this project or not. Just as we were requested to do, we will ask them to see if this is something that they want to do. So I guess we can move ahead. Mayor?
Just one more thing. I just want to be clear, Council President. I have talked to each of the three commissioners.
Okay.
Just not to the Board of Commissioners as a
gotcha.
group. Individually, each one of the sitting commissioners today, as well as the county administrator, are supportive of this project.
Okay, that's great, thanks. Okay, so we'll go to move forward. I don't know what we have to do, but we have February 3rd to file the language, and I guess either the mayor, Mr. Huber, would provide that to the Board of Elections and move the process forward prior to the deadline of February 3rd. So, okay, great. Okay, the next discussion item we have is discussion on capital grant matching funds. And who's handling that? Mrs. Marshall
I think Jansen was gonna.
or Jansen? Who's going first?
You want me to start it? Okay.
Okay.
So, as you know, we did apply for a state capital bill for 4 projects. And we wanted to bring it back around just to make sure we're still all on the same page. The 4 projects that we had submitted was East Reagan Parkway, multi-purpose trail connections, but I think we're funding that through the that other grant that was just discussed. But then we're also talking about doing, our project number 2 was historically designed lampposts for Medina Historic District. And I think Nino was working on the final number originally requested to replace 26 of the posts. And then the 3rd project was to move the dog park from Memorial Park to Ray Mellert Park as a more desirable location. And that project includes the design plans, grading, fencing, concrete work, and features for that dog park. And as Jonathan was talking, the CDBG $20,000 that they're transferring from the comp plan is going to extend that fitness trail, so that ties into this project. And then project number 4 is also in Ray Mellert Park, which is a parking lot expansion to include grading, paving, and lining of the new lot. And in the project number 2, which is the historic district lampposts, the matching funds were going to be coming out of the service or streets department carry forward funds. And then I think we wanted to discuss the moving of the dog park and the parking lot expansion and the matching funds needed for that project. Did I get it right, Jansen?
Yeah, that's correct. I would just note one clarification on project number 1. It's actually going to cover the lighting, on the East Reagan Parkway on both sides of the road. The conduit's being installed as part of the grant project that we discussed earlier this evening. So 2 separate projects, similarly related. And I believe we are funding that grant match with the 108 fund. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's what I had in my notes as well.
So the question, and one of the reasons why I wanted to get this on the agenda this evening, was we came up with these park projects as wish list items. We did obviously get a portion granted to us. The problem lies with our carry forward funds in the Parks Department. I am paying for the Clean Ohio Trails Fund grant that was on the agenda earlier this evening. It's taking a good portion of our carry forward away. But I know these projects are important to council. So what we've talked about internally when we had a meeting on, I believe it was Friday, we have engaged environmental design group to come up with a site plan, concept type plan for how to integrate the dog park the dog park and the parking lot project together. So maybe there can be some efficiencies with doing the 2 projects separate but simultaneously, because it's similar in nature with grading, excavating, so on and so forth. So there might be some advantages to that could potentially drop the total project cost. but we don't know that until we do it and come up with that budget. The problem still lies with how are we going to come up with the matching funds. I did check the balance of the Ward 1 open space. It's about $33,100 as of today. So I just wanted to open up that conversation. If it's a project that we want to do, these are the challenges that we're going to have. With the 10% budget cuts, it's hard to commit. Knowing the timeline, I do believe this is a 2-year grant, and we have the ability to possibly extend it. But I feel like we need to establish a budget that we're comfortable with before we get into the design phase for this.
Thank you, and I think you're correct. We can determine where those funds are going to come from, and we do appreciate your offering the carry forward monies that you have, which is very helpful. And we'll have to talk to Jess Hazeltine about her Ward 1 monies that are available. But I think if we, think about it and come together, I think we could find the money at somewhere to assist in these projects, because we are getting a grant to do them, and all we have to do is come up with matching funds. And I think we could try to figure that out once we get more concrete numbers, so to speak, so we know how much money we're talking about. Okay.
Mr. Coyne?
Yes, Mayor?
Jansen, if you could for a little bit, because I think when we think about the dog park, we think about what we have today. But Jansen was describing to me what other dog parks are like, and I think that will help give a little better vision of what we're looking for here.
Okay, so first off, the reason why I engage Environmental Design Group is because, like the mayor had stated, there's dog parks of all kinds. There's dog parks in inner cities that are all AstroTurf, have all kinds of, wild amenities for these pets, to just communities that have, 2 fenced-in areas for large dogs and small dogs. So the budgets for those can vary pretty widely. When we came up with the project budget for the dog park to be relocated from Memorial Park to Ray Mellert Park, the thought was to at least address one of the problems that we have. It's our existing dog park is in more or less a detention area. It's wet all the time. It's very problematic. We get complaints nonstop about the mud and the rocks that we put in there to try and address the mud, and having a dog washing station. It is used an awful lot. I just think it could be much better utilized in a flat, graded off space that has a little bit more sunlight, that has a nice parking lot, some public amenities that are available, like flushing toilets throughout the summer months, drinking fountains that are already in place. We have all that infrastructure there. So the budget can really vary, but what we're looking at right now conceptually is how to incorporate the parking lot into the dog park area, have an area for small dogs, large dogs, and then how to connect that to the fitness trail quarter-mile loop. So it's kind of an all-in-one. You can bring your dog, you can walk the loop, you can utilize the dog park. I think it'll be a really nice amenity to have, and it's not that far away from where the existing dog park is. Addresses our parking concerns at Memorial Park, and it would be a nice fix to several headaches that we have.
Okay, thank you.
And if Mr. President, so some of it is like some hills and that, instead of just a flat surface, right? So with the dirt movement we're going to have to do with the parking lot and the house that was there, it's like we can take it from here and move it there and contour it however we want. So I think it's a great plan to bring all three together into one master plan and improve that park immensely for our community.
Well, that sounds like a great idea.
Well, and Mr. President, I think it should ease Justice's mind too, because we'd be moving the dog park into Ward 1. So I think it's number 3 and 4, expanding the parking facility or the parking area and adding the dog park will both be in Ward 1, so it might be a little bit more appetizing for you to use those park funds for. Thank you.
That's a good sale. Any other questions?
No, I was just going to say too, with those three projects, I think, Mayor, we should probably talk about Stevenson Foundation maybe participating, and I would speak on behalf of Feckley Foundation too, that I think those are three great community projects that both of those foundations might have some interest in as well. So.
All right, thank you. Well, that concludes the discussions for finance. Does anybody have anything else before finance, before we move into executive session?
Okay, if not, I will make a motion at 6:50 PM for council to go into executive session for a conference with the law director of the city concerning disputes involving the city that are subject to pending or imminent court action, to include the mayor and the law director.
Second?
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Fields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
We'll be recessing into an executive session to discuss the items that Mr. Shields mentioned. We'll be coming back into finance and reconvening, taking no action on any items that we discussed in executive session, and then we'll be adjourning from finance and moving on to council. At this time, we are in recess.